In the world of startups, leaving your mark can be difficult, but occasionally, someone comes along who upends the system. And in our modern age today, that someone is Tope Awotona, founder and CEO of the scheduling automation platform, Calendly. A man labeled as the most successful African-American tech entrepreneur of his generation, and with an estimated net worth of $1.4 billion. This is his story.
My name is Tope Awotona, founder and CEO of Calendly.
Born in 1981 in Lagos, Nigeria, Tope Awotona spent his childhood surrounded by family, raised in a comfortable middle-class life. He came from a family of entrepreneurs. His maternal grandmother was the founder of a successful import-export textile business. Its success allowed her to send all her children to university, a rare accomplishment at the time. His mother held down two jobs, the first as co-owner of a small pharmacy and the second as a manager of the Nigerian Central Bank. His father, on the other hand, started out as a microbiologist for Unilever, but later left the company to become a serial entrepreneur. Of the many businesses he founded, his greatest success was as a distributor of industrial chemicals. Awotona has since credited his parents as his role models.
So he had a great job at a major corporation in Nigeria, but then he decided one day to give that up and pursue starting his own business. And so that inspired me to become an entrepreneur.
The family may have been comfortable, but growing up in Lagos, a city riven by economic disparity and crime, brought its share of tragedies. At 12 years old, Tope's father was taken out in a carjacking. He has since recalled how a group of men followed his father home and demanded the keys of his car. And after he threw the keys at them, they shot him at point-blank range. Awotona witnessed the entire thing. The tragedy left him with post-traumatic stress disorder, and for 6 months, he couldn't eat or sleep. Even now, he still suffers from insomnia, something he attributes directly to the experience. It was as a result of that experience that his mother made the decision to leave Lagos, migrate to the US, and reside in Atlanta, Georgia with Tope and his siblings. Although he already graduated from high school 2 years earlier and was provided a scholarship to a US college at 15 years old, Tope's mother made him attend Wheeler High School before moving on to college because she felt he was still too young and needed some time to adapt culturally in the US. A decision that Tope found frustrating at first, but later appreciated his mother for. But not long after they had moved to the US, his mother passed away. Tope attended the University of Georgia, initially majoring in computer science, but later changed to business management information systems, and graduated with Georgia's Terry College of Business with a Bachelor of Business Administration degree in 2002. Awotona's ingenuity led him to create at 18. His first tech invention was when he was working at a pharmacy while studying for his degree. He noticed how the change in the cash register at the pharmacy didn't add up correctly. And so he designed and patented a new feature for cash registers so that they could use optical character recognition to determine which bills and coins were being used and dispensed. He subsequently pitched the idea to a leading cash registry company at the time, NCR. While the firm expressed interest and requested him to come to Ohio, where it is headquartered, to directly sell the idea to executives, Tope was however thrown by how quickly things were moving and ultimately turned down NCR's offer to buy his patent and abandoned taking his plan any further. Meanwhile, as a broke college kid, Tope needed employment. He worked for a call center which involved him cold calling people requesting donations. He equally tried out selling alarm systems door to door, and unknown to him, the experiences working those jobs, according to Tope, influenced his career. Following his graduation from the University of Georgia, Awotona held different corporate jobs, including working for IBM, where he spent 7 years as a sales representative, before joining a startup company, Perceptive Software, as an accountant executive. He equally worked in sales for companies like Philanthropy and EMC, now part of Dell. Like many successful entrepreneurs, Tope's path was not without setbacks. While Calendly might be the startup that has made Tope's name, it was by no means his first. His first move into the sector came with a dating website. As Atlanta Tech Village explains, he got the idea after reading a New York Times piece about how the founder of Plenty of Fish made $10 million a year working 10 hours a week. And after checking out the Plenty of Fish website, he decided he could create something much better. But whether he could, we would never know, because the result, Single to Take In, died a quiet death long after launch. After Single to Take In, Awotona founded a company called Projector Sport that sold projectors, followed by Yard Steels, a platform for home and yard equipment. Neither one proved a success. While Tope's shattered startups were profitable in their own right, each endeavor proved to be fruitless when he had minimal passion or knowledge about what he was selling. Once he figured out the issue, he adjusted the strategy and began to focus on solving a problem he genuinely cared about instead of only cashing profits. In late 2012, the idea for Calendly spurred up when Tope tried to coordinate a meeting across 3 different companies with about 10 to 20 people, but forgot exactly how many. At first, he felt there had to be some commercially available product which he could sign up to solve his problem, but there was nothing on the market that did it. None of them allowed multiple users to share availability, and spotting that gap in the market, he decided the time was ripe to fill it. Awotona was by no means the first person to come up with the idea of scheduling software, which was part of the reason investors stayed away from the company in the early days.
It was tough for me to raise money for a number of different reasons. One, I did not exactly have a strong track record as an entrepreneur with 4 failed businesses. The space itself was not a space. There were no major successes in the calendar and scheduling space.
But Calendly took off because it was designed like a consumer product inspired by Awotona's frustrations. And in September 2013, he launched Calendly from Atlanta Tech Village, a co-working space for entrepreneurs. After months of research, Tope put his entire life savings, pulled from his 401k approximately $200,000, and maxed out his credit cards into building the initial version of Calendly. This was indeed a significant financial risk, especially considering his previous failed ventures. The startup partly started in Ukraine during the civil unrest in the Eastern European nation. It was February 2014 and Ukraine's capital Kyiv was engulfed in fire as anti-government protesters armed with Molotov cocktails battled against 13 police forces, but this didn't stop Tope. He had to fly to Kyiv that same month because he felt that if Calendly was going to be built by a company in the Ukraine, he was determined to see with his own eyes whether the country was stable enough for a partnership to last. He self-funded the company from his savings, and after running out of cash, he sought venture capital funding to keep his business running. But Tope was faced with a challenge. He had a working product and customers using it, but yet everyone said no to his request. Tope mentioned that while he was being turned down and rejected, he watched other people who fit a different profile get money thrown at them for ideas that could be considered subpar, and the only thing he could attribute it to was that he was black. For 8 years, Tope had to learn how to cope with the financial burden of solely running a startup. But with his product-first approach and with time, Calendly started to look more and more appealing to investors. His determination paid off in April 2014 when Calendly received $550,000 in pivotal seed funding from Atlanta Ventures. It raised $350 million in funding from OpenView Venture Partners and Iconic Capital. Initially, the software began as a freemium version for individual users when the company launched. But the truth to that part of the story was that the decision to make the product free only happened because Tope had actually run out of money. According to him, the plan was to make it a paid product, but they didn't get around to building in the billing features and doing the billing integration, and as a result of that, the product was free. What Tope didn't know was that unintentional decision he made to launch as a free product created some room for virality, because people who used it for free and found out how helpful it was went on to talk about it with other people. But then, in late 2014, the company added a premium version, a decision that users caused out in app stores, even if they eventually stuck around. Yet, things were not perfect. Around the same time, his first chief technology officer quit unexpectedly during a disagreement about strategy. Funnily enough, 6 years later, Tope mentions that he couldn't remember what exactly the disagreement was about. In his words, "You become more resilient in some ways to setbacks, The things that seemed so scary at the time seem silly now. Certainly, the Awotona back then would have been ill-equipped to handle scaling Calendly as the company faced the swath of exits as it scaled. Oji Udezwe, as Vice President of Product, was based out of Austin, left out of a desire to find a job closer to home. The head of revenue, David Rostan, left to start his own business in New York, his home base. And the company's former head of business operations, Brent Chidoba, had ambitions to run a company as a CEO and moved on to Biteable. The pressures didn't stop there. Other companies have also caught on to the benefits of Calendly's scheduling model, with Square, which markets to small businesses, also now offering scheduling tools not unlike that of Calendly's. Zurich-based Doodle had also recently gained traction, but to stay ahead, Awotona's mind is on making Calendly more intuitive for its users, using data to determine, for example, which potential client should be for sale, or perhaps one day automatically suggesting the best time for the involved parties. And the question that everyone inevitably asks is, will Microsoft or Google jump into the contest? And just when it seemed like the dust was settling, a Twitter storm brought a new kind of attention to Calendly. The incident started with a tweet from Silicon Valley entrepreneur Sam Lessin, who criticized the etiquette behind sending a Calendly link, which he felt was rude and nothing but a gross status display mechanism. The discussion blew up online, while some people agreed with Sam and felt Calendly links were too cold and bossy. Others said they were just simple, efficient way to fix a meeting time without endless back and forth. But while the internet argued, something interesting happened behind the scenes. Instead of controversy hurting the brand, Calendly's sign-ups shot up. According to the company, tens of thousands more people started using Calendly that week. The marketing team didn't plan it, but the argument gave them free publicity. The company even went ahead to publish etiquette recommendations, such as beginning by asking for someone's availability before sharing a link to soften perception. Now, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Calendly experienced explosive growth. In 2020 alone, its revenue doubled, reaching approximately $70 million, while its user base soared to over 10 million monthly users across 116 countries. This boom was fueled by the global shift to remote work, as teams and professionals increasingly relied on virtual meetings. Calendly's seamless integrations with tools like Zoom and Google Meet made it indispensable. As demand grew, the company made a bold operational decision to permanently close its Atlanta headquarters and transition to a fully remote workforce. According to Tope Awotona, this move allowed them to tap into a broader global talent pool and better align with the distributed nature of their customer base. This remote-first strategy coincided with a $350 million funding round in 2021 from investment firms OpenView Venture Partners and Iconic, which pushed Calendly's valuation to over $3 billion, solidifying its place as a critical tool in the post-pandemic digital workspace. While we have come to witness Tope as an inventor and an entrepreneur, he is equally one that understands giving back. In 2020, following the loss of George Floyd and the global focus on racial justice, Awotona and Calendly donated over $100,000 to Black Girls Code and My Brother's Keepers Alliance, two organizations focused on empowering Black youth through access to tech education and mentorship. Awotona said it was more important for him to give back, especially as one of the few Black tech founders to reach that level of success. He didn't want to just build a business. He wanted to create a path others could follow. Beyond that, during the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Calendly took fast action to protect its Ukraine-based employees. The company helped them evacuate from conflict zones, relocate to safer areas, and provided continued support throughout the crisis. Awotona didn't see it as a favor, he saw it as a duty. And these efforts go on to show that, for Awotona, leadership isn't only about building products, it's about people, whether it has to do with supporting Black youth in America or engineers in Ukraine. The truth remains that Tope Awotona does not see himself as some rare exception or a one-in-a-million genius. In his eyes, it is proof of what happens when talent meets the right environment. His story isn't just about grit and timing. It's a quiet but bold reminder that brilliance exists everywhere, waiting for a chance to find expression.